If all little dogs could find their spots now. Is this your spot? Look at our girl. Gets the best blanket in the house. Or at least the one that took the most work. Hello friend, and welcome to my little book club. This is episode 15, I think, of my little series where I sew dresses inspired by the books I read. And this one is for you if you like fairy tales. So get yourself a cup of tea, find a cozy spot, and let's chat about books while I sew a dress. Alright, so this week's book, The Maid of Sherwood Forest. This book is so incredibly fun and lovely, and it was such a just wonderfully just adventurous and fun read. It felt like being in a little fairy tale story. It is just delightful. I mean, it's a romance with Robin Hood. Like, doesn't that sound great? This is actually part 2 in the McQuivey's Costume Shop series, and I highly recommend book 1. However, there is one warning about book 1 that I'm going to give you in the spoiler part of this video, but we'll get to that later. And there's actually a part 3 coming out next year, and I cannot wait. I'm so excited. It's coming out in March, but sadly, because they're so hard to get here in Europe, I usually only get them really late, and I cannot wait. It's breaking my heart a little, but anyways. This book is about Marianne? Alright, so her name in the present time is, I'm gonna spell it, Mariah. I think it's probably supposed to be Mariah, because later she's called Marian, Maid Marian. And so I think it's supposed to be Mariah, because you don't really get Marian from Maria, do you? But do you get Marian from Mariah? I think I prefer Maria, and also it just works more with my just way of reading names because I'm German. So I'm gonna go with Maria, even though it's probably wrong. But anyways, if I say Maria, Mariah, Marian, or Marianne, I mean the same person. There's only one of those in this book, and they're all the same person. It's all the same person. I just don't know how to pronounce it. She gets thrown back in time and ends up in a castle in the Middle Ages, and then she falls in love with Robin Hood. And if you don't think that's the most fun premise for a story, then I fear you're just not whimsical enough, because it is so fun. But first, let's get the talking about the dress out of the way so I can swoon more about this book. Alright, so the colors seem pretty obvious. Green. I don't think I've ever had a green dress, so I hope it looks good on me, but it's not done. It's actually not sorted. It's cut out. Everything else is, the whole fabric is piled up over there, and I have not done anything. Which is terrible. But I had a good book to read. Oh, we're okay though. We're okay. Oh no, I've upset the young woman. Alright, I guess I'm talking like this for a little while. For the embroidery, I thought the castle was a really fun setting, and I wanted to sort of... I wanted to just sort of be inspired by that for the embroidery. So, stop smacking your lips. So I thought a little stained glass window would be very cute. I also think that's very medieval, and I thought the flower also fit the sort of like foresty setting that Robin Hood is obviously in. Alright, the plot. We start off in modern day London, and Maria works as a sous chef in a London restaurant, and she is very involved in her archery club. Her mother died when she was very young, and her father took her to this archery club a lot because he sort of found solace in that, and Maria sort of inherited his passion for archery. Short side note about the archery. I don't know about you, but I was 10 years old when the first Hunger Games movie came out, and I was sort of at the like peak age when Hunger Games was in, like 11, 12, 13. And while it was always a little violent for me, I cannot tell you the amount of like girls' birthday parties that I went to that were at archery clubs and that were just like archery lessons. So I think archery is very cool, even though the Hunger Games is a little violent for me. I did enjoy all those free archery lessons I got. I remember there was a guy there at the archery club, because how many archery clubs do we have around here? I live in a very rural area, so we have only so many archery clubs. I remember the guy coming up to like the group, and he was just so confused by all the groups of like preteen girls he was getting. Anyways, alright. Archery rant over. She's very involved in this archery club, and she's supposed to help with this like festival thing they've got going on, and so she needs a medieval costume, and so she goes to McQuivey's costume shop to get a medieval costume, but instead she gets thrown back in time to the Middle Ages. They get thrown back in time in the like changing room of the costume shop, and it's really cute and fun, and I love it. I love dressing up. As you might be able to tell, I don't think I have to tell anyone that. Okay, she comes to in this medieval castle and gets immediately mistaken for like a kitchen hand, or like a maid helping in the kitchen, and she just sort of like completely confused, but eventually she starts to adapt a little, but she still just, she thinks she's going nuts, essentially, just hit her head, or like that everyone else is playing, or just the typical like time travel things. But as she slowly adapts, she makes a friend in the kitchen in Ellen, who is also working in the kitchen. She has kind of the same job as Marianne, and Ellen is adorable. She is so precious. I love her to bits. She has a stammer and she's just so cute and caring, and I love her. But Ellen's brother is actually an outlaw, and he is with Robin Hood. So Ellen knows quite a bit about Robin Hood. The two girls actually run into Robin Hood once in the town when they have to go there to run errands for the castle, but neither of them recognize him as Robin Hood. But they have quite the meet cute, and Robin is immediately very intrigued by Maria because she's just like very different. She obviously acts different, she talks differently, and yeah, he just feels very drawn to her. And he also knows that she's hiding something. He's just not sure what it is, but he's very just interested in finding out. Ellen's family, because Ellen's brother is an outlaw, has money troubles, and so the sheriff, I actually don't know if I said this, but the castle Maria works at, I should have said this earlier, whatever. The castle Maria works at is the castle of the Sheriff of Nottingham. So Ellen's family has money troubles because their brother is an outlaw, and when the sheriff hosts this like archery competition, Maria's like, oh my gosh, I can help my friend. I can win the archery competition for her and win a bunch of money for her family. So she dresses up as a man because, it's the Middle Ages, women are not allowed, and she goes to compete. At the very end, there's actually only Robin Hood, who's also competing, and her left. And Robin comes up to her and realizes she's a woman and tells her that this is incredibly dangerous and that there's no prize, essentially. The sheriff is just going to arrest the person that wins because he's going to assume that's Robin Hood. And when they find out she's a woman, she's going to get in a lot of trouble and she will be taken prisoner. So he essentially wins to take her place in this risky situation, even though he knows he's getting himself into a lot of danger, which is so heroic from really everyone involved, like Maria for her friend and Robin Hood, and it's just all very cute. I think they're all just so nice, but the whole love story just goes from there. I love Maria's character. She's very strong, but she's also still very affected by things. So for example, at one point, I won't spoil like what exactly happens, but at one point she has to defend herself and she has to essentially in the process hurt someone, and she really struggles with that afterwards, and I cannot believe how rare that is in books. Like, that is so reasonable. I find it just so refreshing because if I had to do that, no matter how like dangerous and life-threatening the circumstances, I would struggle with that so much. And I really like that she does too. And I like how much Robin understands her struggles as well. And he's just so like soft and caring with her and just lovely. I really like this part of their relationship and how like tender it is. I also love Robin. He's just great. He's the most like upstanding, lovely guy you could ever imagine. If you want a man that's not gonna disappoint you, this is the one. And I find it so hilarious. This is not really a spoiler, but obviously at some point he has to find out like that she is from the future, and she tells him, and he has the most funny reaction to it I have ever seen. He doesn't have like the reaction like, oh my gosh, you're a witch, or the reaction of just like, oh yeah, I fully believe you. He's just like, really? And he just sort of like goes with it because he thinks she's a little nuts. But he's still so sweet about it. He's like really caring, but also like really concerned about her mental state. And it's just very funny, I think. Alright, big spoiler warning from here. If you want to read these, skip to here. But also kind of, if you want to read these, maybe don't skip it, but also kind of skip it. I'm not sure. Decide for yourself. I'm spoiling the very end of these. Not spoiling major plot points, just spoiling the resolution, which I guess is a big part, but also, I love the ending of this book. Maria essentially decides to fully become Maid Marian, and he is going to stay with Robin, especially now that the king has visited the Sherwood Forest and has essentially made it possible for them to all go out of hiding. And so she decides to stay. I love this. I find it very adventurous. I find it very cute. But the first book broke my little heart. In the first book, our girl goes back to the Elizabethan time and she falls in love with this man. He's got a great, like, manor house. He is like essentially a knight in shining armor. He never wears armor, but like, you know, he rides a horse in front of her carriage to like protect her. And, you know, he's just amazing. I love this guy. And he comes with essentially your own palace and his family is adorable. And also our girl writes speeches for politicians in the modern day, which is like, can you find a less whimsical job? And at the very end, they go back. Both of them. They go back to the present and it's devastating. And if you are the author of this book and you are by any chance still listening to this, please turn away. I ripped out the last chapter of the book. I loved the book. It is a perfect book. And my copy has the last chapter missing. Actually, it's still in there. It's just ripped out. Yeah, I was so crushed. Ugh. I'm tearing up just thinking about it. Anyways, yeah, broke my heart. Why would you go back? The man comes with a castle. Anyways, yeah, she goes back to writing speeches for politicians, and he's like a writing instructor or something, and it's just depressing. Why would you ever go back? Anyways, so that's the big spoiler. The first one just broke my heart. It's so sad. Alright, let's shake that off. I loved this book. It is so fun. It is so whimsical. It is wonderfully adventurous. It is perfect. I loved it. It's one of my favorite books, and I cannot wait for the next one. The whole series is delightful, and yeah, I loved it. If you just need something to like cheer you up and make you believe in fairy tales, this is the book for you. Alright, let's hope I have the dress done. Here's Lady M, by the way. I don't think you can see her head for most of this video, so I thought I'd show her to you now. Alright, here is the dress. I'm pleased with it. I feel like it feels very sunny. Here's the bottom. Oh my, I'm high up. Alright, well here's the bottom. I really like it. How very adventurous. That's, by the way, my idea of adventure. Yeah, no, but I'm pleased with it. The embroidery. I really like any kind of like stained glass window, so I'm easy to please there. And I think it fits the book, so yeah, I'm pleased, and I can't wait to see you next week, friend. I am so excited for next week's dress and book. Yeah, it's gonna be really exciting, and yeah, I hope to see you there, and I hope you have the best time until then. See you next week, friend.